though these categories and geographical distinctions are imprecise. If, on the other hand, you don't or can't speak standard American English, people might treat you poorly. Speaking a non-standard dialect can be stigmatizing. But note, this book uses the terms standard and non-standard because these terms are often used in the literature. This is not, however, meant to imply that standard should be interpreted as better. People who speak variants of Southern American, New York, or African American English can be subtly, or not so subtly, taught that their speech has less value. Likewise for British English. To my American ear, its multiple variants sound similar, yet a British person can instantly distinguish posh from Cockney and the many shades of English spoken in different parts of the British Isles. When people talk about voices from, say, the Southern United States, you may hear them refer to the dialect of Southern American English, as I just did. They may also refer to a Southern accent. I'll use both terms in this book, in part because they're closely related. Both refer to differences in the way that words sound. Different dialects of English are spoken with different pronunciations, or accents, in addition to having subtle differences in grammar and word choice. Likewise, when adults try to learn a completely new language, they take the sound structures of their native language with them to some degree. Hence, they speak with what others hear as a foreign or non-native accent. This unshakable, easily detectable quality of accent is what gives it immense, if under-recognized, social power. The thing is, it's not unreasonable to assume that you can deduce something about a person's background based on the sound of their speech. Because many linguistic patterns are so firmly established during childhood, accent forever betrays our origins. Try as we might to avoid it, when we speak, we are inadvertently telling the world who talked to us during our childhood. In some ways, language changes as our lives evolve. For instance, when we transition to adolescence or adulthood, when we move to a new place, when we join a new community, or when we develop new social desires and ambitions. In this sense, our language is constantly morphing throughout our lives. Nevertheless, a good deal of our speech, and hence large swaths of our social identity, is baked in, showcasing our early upbringing, which is very difficult to escape. For ages, humans have been using language in general, and accent specifically, as an important marker of identity. This was already the case when the Bible was being written. For example, the Hebrew Bible contains a story about two tribes. One defeated the other in battle. To identify survivors of the defeated tribe, the victors performed an unusual ritual. They asked suspected survivors to say the word shibboleth, which in Hebrew means something along the lines of ear of corn. Members of the enemy tribe were unable to pronounce the word correctly. In this way, the victors were able to identify, round up, and execute their remaining adversaries. The story of Shibboleth is a bloody reminder of how accent reveals native group membership. But less dramatic, yet significant, versions of this story play out every day in encounters whose consequences we often fail to appreciate. How you speak is, in a very real way, a window into who you are and how other people see you. Perceptions that sometimes may be correct, and sometimes may be prejudiced and inaccurate. For too long, we have failed to grasp its importance. With this book, I hope to change that. My interest in the way language creates and divides social groups began when, as a newly minted college grad, I spent the summer of 2003 in Croatia. During that time, I also had the opportunity to travel to Serbia, Bosnia, and Slovenia. What I saw there changed the way I thought about human speech and the way language can reflect the past and shape the future. In the 1990s, a brutal civil war, characterized by interethnic conflict, had led to the breakup of Yugoslavia. In 2003, unresolved feelings related to the conflict still lingered. I got to know a Croatian woman who at age 9 had been injured in the war. She was crossing the street when, bam! Out of nowhere, she was hit by a Serbian mortar shell. Fortunately, she survived. When I met her, she was a happy, productive